Starbucks CEO just took sick stand against white customers, put final nail in his franchise. If you've ever bought anything from a Starbucks, then you have indirectly put money in the bank account of Howard Schultz. He's the Starbucks CEO who gives the impression that he dislikes white people. At one point he said he would hire thousands of Muslims in his coffee shops, striking a nerve in Americans at a time when radical Islamic terrorism and refugee rape crimes are destroying communities. But this time Schultz has struck another nerve as he appears to take a swing at white people in America. I guess he should remember that white girls are probably his #1 target audience, so he may want to watch what he says. His recent Twitter post was in response to the actions we've seen in Charlottesville where a far-left and far-right group clashed, taking the life of 3 people. Many see the following tweet as a verbal assault on American Caucasians. I know we're better than this. The bigotry, hatred, and senseless violence against people who are not white cannot stand. Howard Schultz. Howard's tweet gained notoriety and quickly spread among groups of people who appear to have an interest in true equal rights, not just rights for some people. The responses were nonetheless amazing and called out Schultz for his ineffective choice of words that push people apart instead of bringing them together. You'd think he might take a few sips of his Italian dark roast before conjuring the stupidity to tweet something like that. Here are a few of the most relevant responses from people who aren't thrilled with Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. People came out of the woodwork to blast Schultz on his propagation of racial division. Anytime someone makes a statement that's designed to bring us together, then mentions a certain race or races, often gives the implication that the statement means something else. Perhaps Schultz meant well, but it came out wrong. However, why would he say anything in the first place? Why not stick to selling overpriced drinks laced with more sugar than a soda? If Schultz really meant well, then he wouldn't say things about hiring thousands of Muslims when refugee rape crimes were ruining families. He wouldn't tweet something that can be interpreted as though white people are less than others. If Schultz's tweet said this instead, I know we're better than this. The bigotry, hatred, and senseless violence against people cannot stand. Then it would have been perfect. Why would he need to suggest that violence is only against people of color? Has Schultz not looked at the news lately? The violent clashes in Charlottesville were mostly white people versus white people. Did he not see the video of a white person driving Dodge Challenger into a crowd of mostly white people? Charlottesville was the one time Black Lives Matter was probably the best behaved group of activists and protesters. The violence was mostly Antifa versus the alt-right, therefore mostly white people. Hence, his statement about violence against people who are not white doesn't even make sense anyway. Not only is his tweet stupid for inferring that white people are not important, it's also stupid for mentioning people of color. It should not have mentioned any color. Many people weren't convinced that Schultz's replies were genuine. He replied to some of the indifferent tweets, but it seems like people continued calling him out after Schultz reiterated his stance on violence and social issues. Schultz may have claimed that Starbucks is all about the equality of all people, but other people suggested that Schultz might be a bigot towards white people. If this is some sort of marketing scheme by Schultz, then it's working. He's in the press for free, but it might result in a temporary boycott from estranged customers who dislike what he says. If Schultz was a bit smarter, then he might have posted something that's filled with positive vibes only. People have no fear when it comes to sharing good stories on social media. Some people are hesitant to share things that are controversial or not aligned to their beliefs. If Schultz wanted every white person to see this tweet, then he probably came close to succeeding. There are tons of white folks retweeting or replying to it, although not all of them are happy. Negative posts get some action, but positive posts get a lot more. Both can get his company free exposure without the cost of him looking like an idiot. If all the people who tweeted back at Schultz in opposition of his initial tweet would open coffee shops in their neighborhood, then Starbucks would take a monetary hit. All it takes is one half-decent coffee shop to open, with cheaper prices, in the same vicinity as a Starbucks and people will flock to it. Give people free Wi-Fi and a place to sit and enjoy their brew, and they'll easily come to your shop. Coffee shops don't have to be Starbucks to be successful. Any talented chef or coffee aficionado can craft good drinks and easy-to-make sandwiches without costing people a third of their salary. If you drink Starbucks coffee, then what will you do now? Will you continue drinking it, or will you boycott because Howard Schultz isn't good at Twitter? Will Starbucks Anchor keep going? Thank you for watching this video. What do you think about this? Share this on Facebook and Twitter along with your comments.